Favorite Tom Brady. I don't think I'll ever say another bad word about the man. He looked like somebody that I wanted to hang out with, and I've never had that sentiment about Tom Brady in my life.
Sure. It's a mood for sure, guarantee it. And the fact that they're having the parade in a fucking canal, yeah, an idea. Right. Exactly like Tampa would do.
And we're throwing the Lombardi across to were those strangers? Did he know who those people were?
It was Cameron Brate was the one that caught him.
Which hold on, is a complete stranger, and Tom Brady has never met him.
Yeah.
I 100% thought that was just some dude on his boat that Tom was like, here you go, man, touch it.
No, I wouldn't put it past him at that point because he didn't know where he was. So.
Yeah. That was one of the greatest Super Bowl parade clips I've ever seen.
True. But it brings up the conversation. Is it a prop? Is it a real Lombardi trophy?
I think if it's not the real Lombardi trophy, then there's no way Tom Brady or Rob Gronkowski or anybody else who's participating in that party knew it was a prop. Because you don't party like that unless it's with the real Lombardi.
Well,
and the truth is...
Gronk has and would. Brady, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, that's what this time...
And if they were told it was a prop at the beginning... 12 shots of tequila after and some avocado.
That's true.
Definitely forgot that it wasn't the real one.
In my heart, in my soul, I'm going to choose to believe that it wasn't a prop.
Welcome back, everyone, for episode 2 of the Step Over Podcast, brought to you by Moscow Mules. It's our drink of the day. Now, for our starting lineup, standing 6'2", 260, Athen Allinger.
Oh, that's pretty fucking generous of you, buddy.
Which part?
But I'll take it. Yeah, both, I think.
The name, that was a good name, kind of close.
Yeah, you got the name right. You got the name right for sure, but got a lot of fun things to talk about. I'm excited to get into it.
Up next, at small forward, standing 7'6", 106 pounds, Charlie Ridgway.
Yeah, it's all in one place. You know where it is. But I'm just here to provide a semi-informed and slightly offensive take on what's going on today.
And then that guy making all the noise is our co-host, Jalen.
Hey, everyone. So today, we have a list of subjects. First thing we're going to talk about is the Super Bowl. Going over those, all the ups and downs, all the highs and lows. We're then going to move on to the outlook for next season. Who's going to be where, what teams we think are going to be real good. Moving on, we're going to hit a couple random topics. As the booze starts to hit us, we'll start with a little weeble wobble, but we will not fall down. And then we will roll right into the NBA. Got hot topics like the Nets and whether they're a trash team or not. Whether we need to have a fucking Red Cross meeting about Bradley Beal and the Wizards. And just what we think about who the champion's going to be moving forward. So, Mr. Athens, wants to kick us off.
But the most important thing and the obvious topic of the night is the Super Bowl. And how much I hated it. And I'm really glad that I worked. And I do have to say, before we get into this, congratulations to Mr. Charles Ridgway, because he did say it. He was, me and Jalen were both very wrong about the outcome. I believed in Mahomes, and now my biggest point that I'm going to open with tonight is that no part of me maybe puts any blame on Patrick Mahomes for that game.
I mean, I had the least confidence in the Chiefs out of all of us. I still wasn't going to go outright say the Bucs were going to win this game, but I saw a lot of holes in that O-line. I saw Tom Brady just being Tom Brady, like Athens said last week. But you're right. It's hard to put it on Mahomes, but you can't deny his Super Bowl play last 2 seasons has been underwhelming.
For sure. I guess.
But that dude literally gave every part of his body and soul laying out, floating, levitating like a fucking god.
We all saw the fucking viral picture.
The greatest incomplete pass of all time.
And then the other one is he has that one where he's rolling out to the left, spins, hawks it up, and then I think it's McCole Hardman that was almost the greatest catch in the history of a Super Bowl.
True. Facts.
I remember. I mean, we were all standing up and we were watching that shit. I mean, it was crazy, but it wasn't a catch.
And I think the interesting thing about it is I think early on when you saw those couple drops, it really leveled everything, right? It really, like, there was this idea of the Chiefs are untouchable, but once we saw Tyreek Hill drop that pass in the end zone, you saw that Mahomes was hobbling. There was really this feeling that from, I think, the second quarter on, that this was Tampa Bay's game. And I want to say, all the credit to Tom Brady. He played an amazing game. But as a big man, I have to say that the difference in the offensive line play was the difference in this game. The statistic that I heard that blew me away was that the Tampa Bay offensive line gave up the fewest pressures in the history of a Super Bowl, while the Kansas City Chiefs gave up the highest percentage.
Yeah, over 50%, 29 to 56 dropbacks.
Unreal.
You cannot win football games. And for everyone listening, what makes us different from what people do is we're going to be honest, we're going to be blunt. I was fucking wrong.
Yeah.
Like, so incredibly
fundamentally wrong
like,
about the core
I honestly
of the game.
didn't want to show up today to do this because I have no respect. It's out there in the world. They heard my take, and it was that terrible. But moving past that, we're going to redeem it. But I really do think that Ndamukong Suh and JPP truly took over that game.
And Shaquille Barrett.
Shaquille Barrett as well.
Zach Barrett was Zach Barrett again.
That was
2019 Shaquille Barrett right there.
True.
He was
We
dominant.
sat here last week and we talked about the ways that we were going to beat Patrick Mahomes. What would you do if you were Tampa? And we said you had to rush 4 and you had to get home.
And
I, on record, said, I like that idea, but it's still Patrick fucking Mahomes. We all talked about it. And guess what Tampa Bay fucking did?
We all said that the Chiefs had the guys that could win the one-on-one matchup,
correct.
and they didn't.
And I think what I'll go back to what you just said about it was a bad take. I don't think it was a bad take. I think that you have one of those any given Sunday things where the Chiefs didn't really show up or didn't play great. But to say that that's a bad take, that team was going to be a machine is not accurate, because it's what to expect. They've led a game in like 62 consecutive games. They haven't lost a game.
That was the largest deficit of defeat they've had. And they've never lost
since like Jamal ever.
Well, in Mahomes era.
Yeah. And for probably a decent amount of time before that.
Probably was the worst loss in Andy Reid.
Oh, for sure.
For sure.
And if we're going to go on Andy Reid, there were some adjustments that could or should have been made in the second half that just weren't. Like, they were literally in 5-man protection the entire game. They're just letting Mahomes run around, and there was no adjustment.
And so my rebuttal to that, 'cause I'm with you, they only blocked 5. I think what they thought they could do was Andy Reid thought, I have faster guys. Maybe more. My skill players can beat the DBs more than I think another lineman can beat a pass rush. So you expect that your guys are going to get open. The ball's going to be out of the hands sub 2 seconds. Right. And I think what we saw was the secondary of Tampa Bay, but also that linebacking core did a great job covering those quick middle of the field routes. I think Tom Brady was obviously going to get the Super Bowl MVP. I think you could have as easily given it to Levante David. I'm buying a jersey, by the way. That dude.
Okay, let's pause on that, because Levante David made one really good play in coverage on Kelsey, but Kelsey still had like 10, 11 catches.
Yeah, but but you have to look at the situation of the game, right? You're at a point where once you jump up a decent amount in the second quarter, it's like, I'm going to give Kelsey a 15-yard route over the middle.
Over an 80-yard Tyreek.
Over Tyreek or Hardman getting behind me. And I think that the key with the Chiefs has been, can you wrap up, make a tackle when they catch the ball? And they were able to do that. To keep the extra yards there, I think, was huge.
The other thing I think, when we talk about where are we going to give Tampa Bay their success, who's going to get the big credit? You can talk about the D-line. You can talk about, Tommy Brady and Gronk rekindling in the Super Bowl like they fucking hadn't skipped a beat.
It was beautiful to see.
It was beautiful. But I really think you got to give it to Todd Bowles. The fact that he drew up a plan and a scheme. And then at halftime, he adjusted to the adjustments, and still a lot of times the Chiefs were back.
Do you know has Patrick Mahomes ever been held without a touchdown?
I don't know.
I know this was his worst touchdown total in a game. I don't know if it was tied.
Zero.
It was 0.
Oh, correct.
So I honestly can't think of a game I've seen him not have one touchdown.
Todd Bowles.
And normally the Chiefs, they'll fucking suck. Right. We'll give it to them the first half. Sometimes the first quarter, and they make an adjustment, and no one can adjust to their adjustment.
Well, and I think
Todd Bowles drew up a plan.
Todd Bowles cemented himself another shot at head coaching. So.
Yeah, and guess what? Don't go to the Jets. Like,
well,
yeah, I understand.
I mean,
I said what I said with intention, Jalen. I understand.
If you didn't know, Robert Saleh used to be the defensive coordinator for the
San Francisco
the
49ers.
You're mad because you lost your
I am
DC.
not mad. I am happy for him. I would like to see somebody, if we're going to lose him...
Someone has to coach the Jets,
You're
okay?
right, you're right.
Actually, no, because no one coached the Jets last year, and they did fine. So the bottom is the bottom.
How are we defining fine? The worst offense in the league or the worst defense in the league? I think they have both.
Honestly, they could have been better without a head coach, because Adam Gase, maybe the craziest
trade
motherfucker
to
of all
number
time.
one, draft Trevor Lawrence, and he can call
By
it
the way,
plays.
how many bodies does Adam Gase have in his basement? Because he's got
A lot.
He's got serial killer eyes.
The Super Bowl.
Right.
That's right. That's where we were.
That's what we're
That's a
talking
great point. Great point. Great point. Man,
No, it was so. What you were saying about we've seen the Chiefs behind. I think that was the only thing that kept this game interesting was that until there was 4 minutes left, there's this idea that they could still fucking do something.
You watched the Chiefs come back down 24 to the Texans last year, down 10 points to the Niners.
In 6 fucking minutes, bud.
Because, if there's an offense that can overcome that big of a gap, it's the Chiefs. But the Broncos clamped them the whole game.
Not the Broncos?
Ooh,
Yes,
wow.
the Broncos.
You're talking about Todd Bowles.
Yeah.
All right.
The Bucks.
John Elway.
Yeah, and I think that was the only thing that made that Super Bowl interesting. I think we could all tell from it did feel like the culmination of Tom Brady's entire career to me. It felt like
I think it was the first time I really saw him have fun, which was kind of weird.
that
The whole
and
Tyrann Mathieu thing was different.
Yeah, I'm curious to know that.
Small side ramble. Do we think it was racial, or do we think it was just him being a prick and disrespectful?
I think
he's a prick. I don't think Tyrann Mathieu, A, is silent about it if it's racial. B, Brady apologizes and it goes under the rug. I think it was a mother effer or a pussy boy
bitch,
kind of thing.
yeah.
I think something that you probably shouldn't put into the media because that's why Matthew deleted the tweet and everything. But I just don't think Brady has a 20-plus year career, has all these guys who worship his jock, and he's also saying racist.
Yeah, and if you are racist and you do hold those things, I don't think you hold it in for 20 years.
I don't think it's like
This isn't the
racial
first
as
year
in
yet.
a N-word or something.
Wait,
it could be something
boy,
small.
maybe
Maybe it could be a boy.
You think he used an Italian racial slur?
No.
But boy,
I mean, like,
but boy,
for example, my thought process is if Tyrann Mathieu is safety, the safeties stand
He
at
is
the
a
back.
safety.
They stand at the back. I could see get to the fucking back of your huddle over there, and then Tyrann could be upset. I could see something along those lines where it's not necessarily racial, but is disrespectful at the time.
yeah.
And could be taken racially. Like
It could be
any
taken
other
racially.
word said in
I think
2021.
I see boy as the one that's the one where
It triggers me more than the
for
N-word,
sure.
for sure.
And I can understand because what I will say is Tyrann Mathieu had his past at LSU, but he's been a fairly
He's a real
well-reserved, but he's been a really well-reserved pro.
He's been a good leader on that team.
But he doesn't fly off the handle, and I saw him emotional, and he was, and something happened there. Yeah. I'm not ready to ream Tom Brady for it, but do you have any other thoughts on the actual game itself, or?
I think
besides my tears,
the game itself, and then the postseason run as a whole. I think this is one of Brady's most impressive.
But he threw 3 interceptions in the NFC Championship game.
Okay, they won.
Exactly.
And then he threw 3 touchdowns.
I agree.
In the Super Bowl.
I agree. But my point
is, he beat Rodgers, he beat Mahomes.
He did everything.
What else are we asking him to do?
Nothing.
He beat the Saints. He didn't beat Breeze. I don't like the narrative of head-to-head matchups because there's a fucking noodle on Drew Brees' arm.
Yeah.
He wasn't in a duel. It wasn't like the fucking old. It wasn't one of those classic AFC Championship Peyton Manning and Tom Brady fucking dueling. This was 2 football teams and 1 football team won.
He did Tyler Heineke.
I think
damn straight.
I think Brady did everything he needed to do to cement himself potentially forever. Now that leads us into the question
Can he be caught?
that I think you asked is there anything that he could do on the field or off?
Yeah, this is my favorite what if question of the week. Like,
could you tarnish his...
As far as his statistical career and awards, you can't touch him.
Yeah.
What could possibly derail us from thinking Tom Brady is the best player of all time?
I got the answer. It's really easy. It's the same conversation we had with a gentleman named Brett Favre. We talked about Brett Favre being a top 3, top 5 quarterback of all time when he retired from or he left the Packers. And then he retired, and then he came back, and then he retired, and he came back. If Tom Brady lets this dilly-dally and allows him to regress any, and it's overlong, and he's just as seen as the old guy now, that's the only thing I can think will eventually tarnish his overall impact, because there will be a substantial section where we do not see him as elite.
I think
If
Brady
he pulls a John Elway, goes off on the top, there's nothing that can touch him.
Honestly,
I
his
think
last
he's-
season with the Patriots, he didn't.
He
Look.
I
wasn't
think he's
good.
bought himself 2 years. I think he's bought himself 2 on the way out the door bad years. Because I think back to Peyton Manning, who
Wasn't good his last year at
but
all.
won a championship.
No.
He won a championship the second.
different
or
case.
No, I
two
thought he
years
walked.
before
I thought he
retired.
left. No, he left
He was,
on the
it was a
championship.
walk-off. It was
Was
a
it?
walk-off.
Yeah,
He played like 4
But
games
he wasn't
that year.
good, though.
Osweiler started most of that season.
But he started the
playoffs.
Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He started the Super. That's my point.
Started the Super
is
Bowl.
that- and we don't
his
hold that
defense
against.
scored a touchdown, maybe 2.
And, but
and
we
he
don't
did not
hold that
provide.
against Peyton. But a lot of the time, now that when we talk about Peyton, we put him in another category because he's a
But-
2 Super Bowl quarterback, even though he didn't do anything to earn that, in my opinion.
And that
he
second
didn't do
one,
much.
he still was the leader.
He was
and
the
he
sheriff,
played-
which
he was the
Tom
sheriff.
Brady will always be. Tom Brady could. I have my opinion about Tom Brady now is Tom Brady could come out, go 10 for 25 with a touchdown and 2 picks, and he might still be the best quarterback.
Which he did for most of the season.
Yeah,
18,
but he
19
might
season
still
with
be the
Patriots.
best quarterback you can put out there because of what he asks of the rest of his team and what
Tom Brady does make everyone around him better.
The thing
That's
with
undeniable.
Brady, and in that second and third quarter, they're getting up 20, 30 points, whatever. They show him on the sideline, and he has that look the only, MJ and Kobe have had.
He looks through
He's
you.
out there
By
looking like
himself.
he wants to bury every fucking team he plays, and that energy is infectious. You see guys like Mike Evans, all these linemen, everyone just wants to win with this
Did you
guy.
see
And it took
the-
till 3 minutes left, up 23
Yeah.
or 20 something.
Yeah, we're up 3
And then it
possessions.
was the first time he smiled, and it took Brian Leftwich walk up and going, "Congratulations, you fucking did it."
Yeah.
And then he was like, "No, it's not done yet." And he was like, "No, do the
you-
math. It's pretty much done now." And then he smiled.
Did you guys see the video? I think it was a TikTok taken by one of the Bucks players in the locker room afterwards, and they all got the goggles on and they're
Cheering. He's
celebrating.
packing up his
and
shit.
Tom
It
Brady's
was-
calmly taking his
He was
pads
Devin
off.
White or something.
Yeah, and he's like, Tom Brady been done this, bro. Like we don't give a shit, bro. He's
No.
Been there, done that.
and I think we saw that. I think we saw the leadership and the commitment. And
There
honestly,
was talks about he was texting the team the nights leading up to the game, sending them some extra film and stuff about how soft the Chiefs were tackling, and just
Yeah,
he
and-
just does that extra level.
well, and did you hear? I don't think we got it on the last episode. The thing leading up to the Super Bowl was his wife and kids were out of town for 12 days leading up, and the Super Bowl was in Tampa, so he didn't have to study. He got 12 consecutive days by himself to
All he did is
obsess and watch
film and jerk off.
And
Yeah,
I don't
at the
think he
same
did.
time.
I don't think he did. I
You
think
think
he
he
held it
saved
in.
the
I think
night?
he did. I think he held it in and
absorbing
contained that
absorbing
energy.
the souls of other humans,
Yeah,
just
no.
taking in their energy.
It was, and I think we saw it almost immediately on Sunday. I think you saw it was and we use this term surgeon a lot, but I want you to really think about that because that's what it looked like. It looked like somebody has studied, because it is somebody who studied their craft for literal decades and was on such another level from anybody else on the field in his overall understanding of the game that I don't think at any point. From almost the very beginning of that game, I called the Chiefs to win, and I knew they were going to lose. There was just an energy in the air in Tampa. I don't know if they cheated because they got to host their own Super Bowl. I kind of think that's bullshit.
Or because
but
about 6 to 7 penalties were
the
ridiculous.
penalties were really questionable. And my big thing with the penalties is, I think in the Super Bowl, let guys play. If you're not, call it both ways.
That's true.
And I wouldn't have a problem with the penalties. For the people who don't know, I have been officiating high school football for about
Almost 5 years now,
almost 5
yeah.
years.
Every man's dream.
I played I'm back judge lineman, and you see those things. And yes, it's a small level. It's not the same. But the problem is in the NFL where they don't have it in high school is a catchable pass. So when you go through. Is it catchable? So when you throw a penalty, they assess, was this pass catchable in regards to pass interference? And the problem with those calls, and I think Jalen Ramsey tweeted it out right away, was that on almost all of those penalties were when Tom Brady had a bad throw. and it wasn't a catchable situation. Very few of them came where the receiver was going to make a play, and the defender said,
They were not
the only way
traditional
he's not
pass
catching
interference.
it, I have to stop him. And that's my problem, is that they were all non-catchable balls.
And I think you're absolutely right. Here's where I think, and anybody who knows me knows I'm not quick to give Tom Brady props, and here's where I'll give him more. The truth is, the uncatchable ball hasn't been called in about a year and a half, 2 years.
I've seen it less and less enforced.
So do you think Tom Brady picks up on that, realizes, hey, the Chiefs like to get physical, and then says, anytime I see a Chiefs DB get physical with one of my wide receivers, I'm going to throw it 5 yards over his head and hope I get the call, and it worked for him.
That's a fair assessment when you're trying to... Like, you see your big receiver when you have your, like, Gronk on a small slot corner. Yeah. And you know there's a jump ball or something. You know that corner's going to have to climb up, so you throw it anyways.
Which they did with Mike Evans.
Or if it's a holds, you see the holds, you throw it regardless. Same way. But
like with an offsides.
With the uncatchable pass, though, it's something that the officials judge before they throw it. No. It's not like... So in those regards, they can see, was the ball playable to this moment? Because we can talk about an uncatchable pass. That assessment was made in New Orleans when they all of a sudden got fucked over because they were like, that ball wasn't going to be caught anyways.
Are you talking about against the Rams?
Correct.
So my point is, I don't think I've seen uncatchable balls be called at all. We've seen a lot of pass interferences on uncatchable balls be thrown, which leads Tom Brady to, because I think he's throwing the ball up with no intention of completing the pass, only the intention of, I'm going to get the call here.
That's a fair assessment.
He's Brady.
Give it to him.
I don't think. I
don't doubt that he doesn't have the process or has done that several times.
Right.
But this is the motherfucking Super Bowl.
I 100% agree with that. I've agreed with that for a long time.
And a lot of those were all on 3rd and longs. In the red zone.
Some game
bailouts. When you're an official, they talk to you about in these moments, let players make plays. If it is 2nd and 6, and that, okay, go ahead. But if it's 3rd and 45, 3rd and 15, you need to make sure that you do not give that offense that turnover. Make sure the defense and the offense earn everything. And the fact is, the Chiefs on those plays did not earn those penalties. And the Bucs did not earn.
I agree. I 100% agree with that. And that's what brings me back to that. I think that a lot of the pass interference calls that they made could be argued that are pass interference. But if you're going to do that, I think we saw the other way where they weren't. And now I am in no way putting this game on the refs. I'm never going to do that. I have always said, when you're an athlete, your job is to ensure that the refs don't get a say at the end of the game. Period. You have to make sure of that. But it was, I think it's the one thing that, it's like the one taint of that win, is that the officiating did not feel equal, which is hard. And I think for any athlete that's ever been a part of a poorly officiated game, because we all have, I know us in high school, we used to blow people out so bad that they would throw penalties on us for
sportsmanship.
Out of mercy.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
But I think it wouldn't be as big of a deal if it wasn't Tom Brady. If we haven't seen the same old tale of Tom Brady playoff and Super Bowl wins, having these...
It's easy as a Brady hater to go, Deflategate, and the this and then that, and it sucks that this shadow always seems to follow Brady where he goes, but there's some sketchy stuff going on, and I'd say at least half to 75% of it's probably bullshit and just people wanting to hate on the best ever.
But the thumbnail clip,
but it's
the thumbnail clip
it's a trend for sure.
And then I'm not saying this is valid, but then like the thumbnail clip of there's him trying to high five the ref after he scored. That was like week 15 or 14. That's not a good look at that point, right?
It's odd.
Yeah,
it was just probably in good fun, high five the ref.
Yeah, for sure.
Still, if you're Tom Brady, you're like, people already think I'm cheating all the time.
And
maybe I'll just go back to the
already know Tom Brady is being protected at the quarterback position more than others, especially if you're a mobile quarterback. Yeah. Now, the quarterback is equally protected because he is Patrick fucking Mahomes. I'm not saying that. But when you see these trends from a position that's overprotected,
I don't know.
From a player that's even more protected than that, and has these questionable calls and moments, it's just hard not to even bring it up.
I thought Sue lowered the crown on a few of those hits in ways that for sure would have been called the other way. And I didn't...
Even more odd because Sue has been called for much, much less his entire career.
I think it's the Tom Brady effect.
Yeah.
I do think, and I'm not blaming Tom for this. I think this comes off as Tom Brady. I think that we've seen this we saw it with Michael Jordan. We see it with LeBron, and it's
Definitely
not a fault
been seen with LeBron.
to them, but it's that there's this almost godlike aura around these guys that. For some reason, like I think that if you're a ref in that game, it's hard to throw a flag onto or against his team.
Are you going to be the guy that cost Brady instead of a Super Bowl?
No, but I think, are you also going to be the guy that lets somebody get away with hurting him? You know, so I think you're going to be quick to protect him. Yeah. I get that. I think
you lose your job probably.
Yeah, and I think it was impressive. I think, like we were saying, the only thing that hurts his legacy from this game was the officiating. But is there anything moving forward?
Brady played a perfect game.
Like would it if a tape came out of him using an N-word, or like does he have to like abuse somebody?
My thing, because to me,
how does he
this
get
point,
his legacy taken away?
I mean, some of the balls he threw, I don't question the avocado process, but like that second touchdown to Gronkowski,
I knew it's bullshit.
He laced that shit in.
I think the whole
tequila and avocado.
That's to sell.
I take the best care of my body of anybody in the NFL. I think is bullshit.
I'm just saying it's crazy, and again, I think we kind of touched on this, but like generational level of dominance as an athlete. It's like I can't believe I'm watching a 43-year-old throw the balls he's throwing.
But isn't it kind of like a dominant pitcher in baseball, where you're a supreme athlete, kind of this very specific skill. Now, that very specific skill can be enough to be the greatest of all time.
It has been.
But you're not. He doesn't need to go out and lift weight. Man, I'm sure he does exercise and keeps getting great.
We'll say right now, Brady is in a lot better shape than Brady in 2004.
Probably. But my point is that there's 28-year-old linebackers that are far and away greater athletes than he is.
Yeah, no doubt Devin White would beat him in a foot race.
Or a fight, or anything, or like
Haloti Nada, the biggest, most lumber dude on the planet, ever to play.
That's what you want to see. And Ndamukong Suh, Tom Brady, 40-yard dash off.
And Ndamukong Suh wins by 3 strides.
Suh wins for sure.
I want to see that though. Yeah. Can we get? That's what we should do. Tampa Bay Buccaneers Hard Knocks. I want all that behind the scenes shit. Also, was it kind of scary?
Brady will never allow it.
I want Tom Brady, and someone needs to interview him and ask him, when was the last time he actually did a full 40-yard sprint for anything?
Never. The combine.
No. I guarantee you, much further along in his career than you would think, Belichick still had him doing sprints.
I bet not.
Yes, but not like full speed.
Tom Brady's
sprints.
We know, we've all seen it. If you've done any kind of sport, I think you know the like if especially if you play football, or the wide receiver run when the receivers and the linemen are winning
to a certain standard for a while.
I don't think so. I think Tom Brady holds himself to a higher standard than anybody else can. And I don't think that involves. And I think in my personal uneducated view of Brady, because obviously I've never talked to the man, for some reason in my brain that doesn't involve sprinting. I think he says, "You want me to fucking sprint, coach? Are you kidding me? What do you mean? Is that what you need me to do?" Yeah. No, literally never. I think if he does run conditioning at the end of practice, he's practicing his slides. Like it has nothing to do with him trying to be fast or athletic.
And again, his whole career, his skill set is based on him knowing anything but more than anyone. So he's going to spend that time looking at film and studying. You know, he don't need to be doing sprints.
So
I think
guess,
Belichick had a sprint in 2006. I don't know.
What would it take him doing off-field? Because at this point, there's nothing he can do on-field.
I don't think it's off-field. I think the only thing...
I think it's PEDs, if he tests positive or something.
PEDs, and I think...
don't see, right?
I really do believe if he plays longer, tries to be like, you know what, I'm going to reach 50. If he tries to reach... and plays and just cannot go. If he regresses back to last year's New England Tom Brady
for and plays a bunch of years in a row,
3 years, and you he's Tom Brady, so you still give him the job.
It just becomes sad to watch.
Well, yeah, it is that he just doesn't play at a high elite level because he hasn't. Even this year, he did not play at an elite level. But as we wrap up the Super Bowl and try to go, let's talk about briefly where we think, what are the repercussions of what we imagine from Kansas City in Tampa Bay. Do we believe Tampa Bay is a front runner again? Because I don't.
I do. I do because I believe in that. I don't know because I don't know enough about their cap situation, who they're losing. I have to
free agency,
and we'll read it. We'll see in a month. But what I know is I'm scared of a Kansas City Chiefs team
Revenge tour.
that is not satisfied. They have been satisfied for a long time. I think you kind of saw that. They got fat and happy at the top of their... And now they're at the bottom of the hill. And I think you might see...
The thing with both these teams is, like, the Chiefs have a much easier conference path back to Super Bowl than the Bucs do. But they have a little bit...
Easier?
Chiefs, I would say.
The Chiefs? Yeah. You have the Bills. You have the Ravens.
No, he's talking about to get to division.
Oh, the division, yes. 100%. Yeah. They do.
But the Chargers could be good. I like the Raiders moving forward.
Chargers have a new unproven coach and still a young quarterback.
God, that was stupid. What the fuck was that firing? I'm sorry, I digress, but Anthony Lynn did not deserve to lose his job.
That team just was...
Anthony Lynn is one way a year from being Brian Flores with the Dolphins, where we talk about people firing Brian Flores, being like, oh, this is shitty, and he was like, no, we're not going to lose. We're not tanking. And fucking, if you had to let Fitzmagic fucking keep his ass in that huddle, you have a playoff Dolphins team, which would be fantastic. Yeah. And Brian Flores has a job going forward. Anthony Lynn was literally a couple games here and there. They beat the fucking Kansas City Chiefs.
It's Rookie of the Year.
Justin Herbert, they got good things going.
Finally, touching back on these two teams going forward, I'm not going to put Bucs as the Vegas odds favorite to win again next year. I just think that they are set up for another deep run. They're not losing many guys in free agency. I think Sue Barrett and
David, who's the most important,
and David are all free agents going into next year. You sign David and Barrett. Sue, you can find another guy to plug that hole.
Yeah,
but
you can draft a young guy.
The receiver trio.
I like Vita Vea more.
I mean, they probably got to pay AB again, but they have an insane receiver trio.
Do they have to pay AB? I mean, even if you let him walk.
Well, yes. I mean, you can throw Scotty Miller or Tyler Johnson
or a new nice first-round pick. I think.
Yeah. How did we not talk about how bullshit Scotty Miller's statement that he was faster than Tyreek Hill is?
Well, technically, he ran a 4.32.
Well, I think the reason. First of all, I want to see it in
different
pads.
speeds. They're different speeds. Yeah, and there are different levels of.
Eye test wise, it's not even close.
Yeah, I think
pro day wise, he ran a faster 40.
I think but 40 is not football fast. And my football fast is completely different. I've always thought they should have ran 40s from an upright position in pads. But I think because maybe at top speed, No, I can't even say that. I think the truth is the reason we don't talk about it.
No one's faster than Tyreek Hill.
It's such an outrageous, especially not as kids.
Welcome back to the Step Over Sports podcast, brought to you by Kick-Ass Meals because
second round.
Kick-Ass is way more American.
Well, you start.
It's crunchy,
tasty.
Now. Leaving last year, leaving the Super Bowl, all records are 0-0, everyone's in first place. We have next year's big moves.
I'm curious to talk about and see where Carson Wentz goes. Any thoughts?
Supposed to hear something this week?
There's only one place he should be, and it's the Indianapolis Colts. It's his old OC. That team's already got a top 3 defense, I would like to debate, but there really isn't much of it. He's got semi-good weapons. Michael Pittman looked okay.
I think T.Y. Hilton is a great... I have this guy comfort to a dude like Wentz who's struggled. You get somebody who can kind of get open over the middle, has some take over the top speed.
I think the most important part of that team is they already have a very solid line and Jonathan Taylor.
And Nyheim Hines ran his ass off.
Hines is a great third down back.
And Quentin Nelson is hands down the meanest offensive lineman in the league.
Meanest and best.
Yeah, 100%.
I love seeing him pancake people. It's fucking gets me going. I want to run through a fucking wall with him.
And I also think I have a positive enough opinion of the Colts. Like, they don't really bother me in any way, right? Like, I'm an NFC fan. I think we're all fans of NFC teams.
Colts have been a very popular franchise last.
And I just mean they're not problematic. I mean, I'm fucking what's his name was for a minute.
Oh, Irsay?
Yeah, Irsay was, but they're not really problematic. Everybody kind of likes them, and I'd like to see Wentz there. I think that would probably be the best coaching situation he's had in his career. Right. I think
the problem with Wentz going forward for all these teams is, even if the Eagles trade him, they're going to have millions and millions of dead cap space from his contract. Then whenever team's taking him on, it's taking on a not very great contract.
But if you get a Carson Wentz from before he got hurt when they took him to the Super Bowl, who's playing at MVP,
17
the
to 19.
AFC front coming through.
If
Indianapolis Colts they missed out barely the playoffs.
Yeah.
If you have a good Carson Wentz there, and you can actually have someone that can utilize T.Y. Hilton, Pittman, the fact that you had to have Jacoby Brissett come in any time that you wanted to throw the ball more than 25 yards, pretty much, that was a problem.
Rivers was barely a game manager all season last year. I mean, he wasn't making any plays for that team.
No, but he's a gunslinger. He's going to throw 7 interceptions and then 4 touchdowns and win you a football game. So.
I'd like to see Wentz make another pushback into relevance.
The place I think Wentz should go.
And I also like the idea of him, if he leaves Philadelphia, I like the idea.
It's not if at this point.
Okay. Well, then I like the idea of give me 16 games of Jalen Hurts. I am also that's another reason I want to see him gone. Because I'm interested in that.
I think Hurts could be the next Dak.
Yeah, because I look at teams that need a quarterback. Jacksonville, I think it's pretty clear going with Trevor Lawrence.
True.
I think we'd all be shocked to see other than that if he didn't do that.
The next 3 quarterbacks up the board are question marks.
And where are they going to go? There's not that many
order
teams.
And where, I don't know.
I have not been more skeptical of scouts literally not knowing a damn thing. From seeing each one of these people, whether it's an individual team's reporter making a mock draft, whether it's the NFL mock drafts, ESPN mock drafts, the fact that these are all so different, they're just guessing. They're literally fucking just guessing.
They've always been just guessing, but this year, they don't even have educated guesses.
In my opinion, is there a chance that if you take away the first overall pick, and I doubt this has ever happened, is there another first-round quarterback? Who needs one?
First-round caliber, or actually
is going to get taken in the first round?
You're putting up the question that you don't think another quarterback's taken besides
potentially.
Are you saying
potentially
Justin Fields is not a first-round quarterback?
Did you see the? I saw a video on Justin
Fields. There's 5 quarterbacks taken every draft.
I know, but and a lot of those are busts. Geno Smith.
And people will reach and bust quarterbacks this year, just like any other.
Did you see the thing with Justin Fields? It was a video I watched where, find tape on Justin Fields moving to a second read because you cannot do it. He locks into a receiver, and but
part of that is he plays for Ohio State and he has athletes that are usually
only
open
one read.
But so who else is desperate for a quarterback? I don't see Miami as needing. If they're getting another quarterback, they're not bringing in another rookie, right? If we're going to give the reins to a rookie, it's going to be Tua. Right. I see Jacksonville with an obvious need. I don't see a lot of
the problem with teams being desperate being the parameter for who's drafting quarterbacks in the first round is that hasn't been the only teams drafting quarterbacks in the first round. Packers just took Jordan Love. The Chiefs took Mahomes when they had Alex Smith. Teams are trying to copy these teams and get their quarterback and develop them behind a mediocre to slightly above average starter for a year or two. So you might have a team like the Falcons take someone, let Matt Ryan start another year or two, dump his contract, and you hopefully have a starting quarterback.
Yeah, I see that.
Cool. But if you look at the first...
What team did you think Wentz was going to? Or would you like...
I think one of the best things that could happen with him, and the only thing... Sorry, let me back it up. The team I think is the Denver Broncos. We're not sold on Drew Lock. He fits the kind of big quarterback vibe.
Drew Lock has a big cock, according to people from Missouri.
Oh, dude. Do you see the way... Okay.
Cock, to be specific.
The way he listens and dances to rap music on the field, the evidence is there. There's videotapes of him just gigging out.
Yeah.
You don't just fucking start spitting Jeezy.
That soul's coming from somewhere, I'm assuming.
Without having any background. All right? Now, Missouri, that's a weird situation coming from because it's Mizzou and they produce talents, but I'm not really sold on Drew Lock. I like the mindset. I'm not sure he's going to lead you into the playoffs in the AFC West.
He doesn't have the skill set to me. I don't know.
For me, the question becomes, what's the price tag? And are you willing to...
I think John Elway is desperate enough to pay anything to try to save his job. Because I feel at this point, he's got one more chance.
He's been wrong for 5 years straight.
The only one he got right was Jay Cutler. Because
was he part of the team that
John Elway was Jay Cutler's first bring-in.
Yeah.
Jay Cutler was John Elway's first bring-in.
Correct. When John Elway came in, Jay Cutler was the first one they brought in as, we're going to rebuild the Broncos.
He keeps bringing in these aging white quarterbacks that aren't helping the team overall.
You know, and I'm going to just... These are little rumors that have sprinkled. And I would love to see this, personally. There's rumors up in the Pacific Northwest.
That Russ is on the move.
Do the Denver Broncos make a play there? Because that is kind of throwing it on his head of the guys that they've brought in.
The most surprising part of that for me was Russell, not even just his camp or his agent. Russell came out and said on a podcast or whatever that he is not happy.
Not happy
been obvious.
specifically with the way he's protected. Let's make it clear that he's not saying he doesn't want to be a
Russell,
Seahawk.
because Russell is not a guy that speaks out like
No,
that.
and I think...
But he will say is he was hit and sacked more than anyone
and
else.
I think the Seahawks have gotten almost lazy in the sense of...
Oh, he's not going anywhere.
Well, no. That, this dude's a magician and makes crazy plays out of the pocket. We don't need to invest in an offensive line. And I think after 11 years, or what is he's at... Not 10. Yeah. I think he's at exactly 10 years. That gets old. And that's been the question with the Seahawks forever.
You're sitting here watching Brady and Roethlisberger get untouched all season, and you're fucking have to dance around 3D linemen.
I think I would love to see him leave.
We've talked about it before, about the style of offense in Seattle. There was a time and place where they had a real offense. Right. The reason why they sucked this last year on the back half is because everyone figured out it was run the ball, throw the ball deep.
It was a very high school offense.
Yeah.
Very much so. And they relied strictly
when you know you have an all-state quarterback that's going to make those plays. Right? It's that we're going to get bailed out. And obviously I would
love to see Russell Wilson on the Broncos.
I would too.
Broncos are a team I've always loved to watch that team. They have Cortland Sutton and Judy and the second round pick from last year.
I don't know the other. But they have Fant still.
Well, they have Fant.
Well, they have no Fant.
That slot guy from Penn State.
I don't know.
I'm gonna dig deep. I got it. Hold on.
He was a second round draft pick, but he's a baller too. Good speed guy. And they got Melvin Gordon at running back and Philip Lindsay. I mean, that team's set up to plug and play an elite quarterback.
Except for they
botched.
Kenny Hamler.
Yeah, that's it. They botched that whole. No, that's the wide receiver. That's his name.
Is it Kenny?
Nah, Hamill is for sure the last name.
Mark Hamill.
Luke Skywalker.
Greg Hamill. Phil Hamill. Josh
Those are names I don't know.
I'm just listing off different names in Hamill. But no, the Philip Lindsay... KJ Hamler. The Philip Lindsay, Melvin Gordon thing was a bust of an idea.
Yeah.
It was terrible. The fact is, you can't all of a sudden have a 2 running back system and not hand any of them the fucking ball the whole game.
That's the truth. That's true.
Or the only time, on the fucking goal line, you have your 2 running back system. You have Melvin Gordon, standing about 5'11", 6 foot, 230, 225. And then you have Philip Lindsay, about 6 foot nothing. Not even 6 foot.
Nothing. 5 foot nothing. Yeah.
Maybe 5'6", 106 pounds. And you give him goal line runs? I mean, come on. You're not even using them as a style. They decided that they wanted to run him as strictly as a scat back. But Philip Lindsay's a person who's elusive. He has a high motor. And you give him enough touches.
He's a tough kid.
He's going to wear him fucking out.
But you can't put him
he's going to bust
2 yards out.
And then Melvin Gordon is one of those ones that he's going to get 25 carries.
Right. For
and the
40
last
yards and
40.
touchdowns.
And those last 5... Those last 5 carries, he'll maybe break them off.
Last 3 seasons, the Chargers, Gordon was the red zone king.
Yeah,
all he did was score touchdowns and not get yards.
My question is, I have a couple questions. A, if he doesn't go to Denver, is there anywhere else you can envision Russell? I can't envision him in New Jersey.
I don't really see him leaving Seattle
yet. How much time does he have left on his contract?
I have no idea. Probably
I could see a team that has a real quarterback, like a real viable quarterback
like
on a top 15
Titans?
team. Saying
he said real and viable, not barely real.
But I could see them trading their quarterback and being like, yeah, but that's Russell Wilson.
Give up a first and your current starter.
And give your current starter.
Russell Wilson.
Fucking swap it out.
That's a lot smarter than trading Jared Goff and 2 first rounds for Matt Sackler.
Another one, we're speaking of Jay Cutler, and we were talking about the Broncos, when they traded Kyle Orton. The Bears at the time said, yeah, we got Kyle Orton. He did take us to a Super Bowl not too long ago.
Right.
Kyle Orton took the Bears.
Rex Grossman.
Rex Grossman was. Kyle Orton was right
Sexy
after.
Rexy.
But Kyle Orton threw for what? He was top 5 passing in the league. He threw for lots of yards. And they said, fuck it, we'll take Jay Cutler. You take the big and the new guy. I think you trade and you go get a Russell Wilson if you're a team that thinks they're close.
If you truly think you have an
Chicago Bears,
the Miami Dolphins.
Dolphins won a bit they've lost.
And Russell will. Well, but I think
They
Russell
won a they lost with Tua. But
I also,
if you get a Russell Wilson, that's an easy one to say.
But I
Yes, we
also
didn't
think. But I also think Russell Wilson's old enough that. Fuck, Tua didn't look great last year. We can keep him on the roster for relatively cheap. If we can get 4 more years out of Russ and then bring in Tua,
If there's a team that's like we're a quarterback away from being a win now franchise, and you go all in, if you're trying to go all in for 1 year, they're close. They got the defense.
Those are the only three I think.
Bears probably lose Allen Robinson in free agency unless they get a real quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. Which Russell Wilson would do. And those are 3 teams I see him potentially landing on. My other question is, do you buy into this? There's no price big enough for Deshaun Watson.
There's never no price. There's never no price. I do not.
Especially when there's a broken relationship with ownership.
Welcome.
So the Texans brought in a new coach and a new GM to try to mend that relationship. But I think when that relationship stems from the top, that at this point it really does feel like there is no repairing that relationship.
Yeah.
And you're like, are you going to let him retire and not play? Yeah. Sit out a year? I think Le'Veon Bell showed that.
Pull a Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah. How far do you let it go?
And so don't you say, hey, I'm going to take, especially after giving up picks for Tunsil. You didn't get a lot for DeAndre Hopkins. You're kind of short on draft capital, and you kind of have this opportunity to say, we're going to completely tear this down.
Watson was already coming out saying he wanted to get traded before the new hirings.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing going forward with this team is that they so gratefully screwed up the DeAndre Hopkins trade last year. They're not going to do that again. They're not going to repeat that mistake.
And
so they're going to force teams to pay out.
I don't think they realize and really know that they got shafted. I think that's the problem with the Texans.
Are they that
and why
stubborn?
They keep doing it. I think their ownership and the way they run their program, they're that dumb. They gave Bill O'Brien all the fucking control and let him go off and do whatever. And you know what? After you fired Bill O'Brien as the coach, you barely fired him as the GM. Unfortunately, the coach was the GM, so they both had to go.
Yeah.
The moves you made after getting rid of it, you tried to make the smart move. You still continue to make the dumb moves. You still continue to fail your franchise.
I think I don't think they get it. We see the Texans in a decade-long drought for the playoffs.
I can see that.
I think Bill O'Brien and their management has just torched this team to the ground at this point, and I really hope they don't take Deshaun Watson's career with them. Because to me, he's one of the most dynamic players I've watched in a long time.
Ever in my life.
He's a true winner, and I fucking love the kid.
Yeah.
But I want him to get out. He might end up stuck.
For his own good. I agree with that. And the question becomes, what's the price point that you can't say no? Is it 2 firsts, a second, and another viable starter? I think you have to take that.
It has to be players in this. It has to be players you know you can plug into your roster and be better.
Yeah.
Because how much are we really weighing picks? You know, if it's coming from a team that's already in the bottom half of the draft.
Well, I think it has to be both. I think for any superstar now, first-round picks are a given. If you got 2 for Jamal Adams, Jamal Adams, great player. He's a safety. If you have any question about what's a more important position on a football field, the safety or quarterback, I'm sorry, maybe not the show for you. But I think that you're looking at 3 or 4 firsts and 1 or 2 viable good players because you're looking at generational talent.
It's going to be. If it happens, it's the biggest trade that I think I've seen.
And it needs to, and I think it needs to happen for the Texans, and I think it needs to happen for Deshaun.
I think the NFL is moving into more of an NBA style, where if we want to win, we go bring these talents in. Fuck what it costs.
And players move more frequently.
What we just watched the Bucks do.
Yeah. Just watch the Bucks do. They said, "Fuck it, I'll pay everyone." They probably don't have pennies to spend next year.
No, they actually have the 11th most cap space.
Do they really? That's interesting.
They're paying a lot of guys. They're paying a lot of guys veteran minimum.
Veteran. That's the kind of effect you have. You have that LeBron effect. You have that Brady effect. People just want to show up.
2 of their starters, AB and Fournette, were cut from teams. They don't have to pay guys that just got cut.
You gave them a singular million, same way you got Cam Newton for $1 million.
Yeah, it's like $776,000 or something.
After taxes and crazy, but
Brady don't need money. Gisele's making billions.
More than him, always has.
Yeah.
So with that, who do you see being in the conversation next year? Who's the contenders?
For sure teams or sneaky teams?
I think somebody that you're that you're you want to kind of sneaky, you want to be given credit if they do good. It's not that besides the Chiefs and the Bucks,
the Miami Dolphins.
I like that team.
I love
love
Brian
the way they
Flores.
played.
Defense is awesome. Devontae Parker has been a fun receiver to watch. It's
this
a
year,
fun team.
Finally, you're supposed to be coming out of Louisville.
Yeah. He's been the fantasy breakout for the last 4 seasons.
Yeah, for sure.
But they played. It was fun to watch.
Miles Gaskin.
I like
Gaskin
the
from fucking Washington, right up the road.
Yeah.
You know, it was exciting to watch the Dolphins play. And when you're like, fuck, they got another win.
Yeah.
Fuck, they got another win. Holy shit, they roped together 5 wins.
We forget that within the last 2 or 3 years, you know who played an AFC Championship game?
Titans.
The Jacksonville Jaguars. Oh. And I gotta say, if my guy Trevor can come in and play the way that I think he can.
But they gave away all those defensive players.
They gave away
the defense that took them to that championship game.
Picks back
they
for
gave
it.
Just
away.
Miles Jackman.
But they got picks back for it that I think they can develop. I like that. Was it James Robinson? I like that.
Yeah,
kid.
the rookie played great. 1,000-yard season.
I think they're finding their direction, and I think they maybe not this year, but within
Jaguars. I'll talk to you in 2 or 3 years. I don't see them even.
I just doubt anytime when you trade players, you remove players willingly from your roster, and they succeed, you've already lost.
Yeah.
So to say that with all these people, Jalen Ramsey, Ngakoue,
Calais Campbell,
with them succeeding, you can't win, period. Yeah. Because you had the opportunity to have them on your team, and you chose to get rid of them. Now, if they struggled, and you struggled, so be it. You got rid of a bad player.
So here's my argument. What if keeping those 3 guys leads you to 5 wins this year?
You don't get Lawrence.
And you don't get Lawrence. So I think that they have... I think they have a good opportunity moving forward.
That team is just full of question marks.
I still believe in the Tennessee Titans and the Buffalo Bills in the AFC. I have to say, barring injury, if we get everybody back, I think the San Francisco 49ers make a good push. I think if Bosa can get back to the form he was at, I think Fred Warner is probably the best middle linebacker in football. Give me 1 or 2 guys.
1B.
Yeah.
I agree with that mindset, but it's the same way I feel about Atlanta. If they respond... Unfortunately, in their division at the time, there are still 2 people who also geared up and ready to go. Yeah. No matter how good Atlanta goes,
sure.
they still have to play Tampa twice. They still have to play the Saints twice. So in the NFC West, you still have, even if San Francisco is healthy, they still have a Russell Wilson.
Correct.
They still have
the new Matt
LA Rams.
Who I will say, as a very injured team this year, we swept. We did not lose a game to the Rams.
I'll give it to you.
I'm just saying.
The Rams.
With being said, there's still 2 big powerhouses in front. So even if you do get up,
I agree.
You have to fight.
Let's remember.
Don't ignore the fact the team that did sweep you was the Cardinals, right?
Yeah. I
mean, the Cardinals are very
very talented. It's a great division.
I don't like Kingsbury. Kyler Murray's a little Oompa Loompa with the ball back there. I don't really trust that team.
Toddler that just stole candy.
Yeah, he just doesn't bend his elbows.
Don't trust that team to make a deep run, but they're hard to beat.
My thing with the Niners is just so riddled by injury. I think we still to this day have not seen Debo, Ayuk, and Kittle on the field together with a good quarterback.
All right, hard time. Real pause. I don't mean to be rude. But those aren't real number 1 wide receivers. We've talked about this. Until you get weapons,
for sure.
I guess he could be an Emmanuel Sanders as a number 1 receiver.
Except he's twice his size.
That's his ceiling. He's not twice his size.
Significantly taller than Emmanuel
maybe a
Sanders.
0.3 bigger.
He's
1.3.
Ayuk and Samuel are very good athletes. They're talented receivers. I just don't see them as number 1 who I'm drafting in my fantasy.
Okay, so are we saying that Ayuk is a net loss as a pass catcher from the Super Bowl run? Because I'm not.
No, what I'm saying is the 49ers have been playing this game of getting number 3 guys, number 2 guys, just guys to build a good roster, and it hasn't
when you have
brought
a
you to a
quarterback who elevates your receiver play. Garoppolo does not.
Except you're telling me, what I'm saying is they were in a Super Bowl a year ago. What have they lost?
The only argument is
they were injured. They're the most injured team in the history of the league last year.
I'll give it to you. Yeah. I'm not saying that, but the fact is your offense was, when healthy in the Super Bowl, was not able to compete at a real level. It was a deep. You could run the fucking
We scored
football,
enough. We
and then
scored
no
enough.
one knew about George Kittle. I'll fucking
No, but we scored
mark
enough
that off
points
as
to
a
beat.
fucking asterisk.
I don't think the offense was the. Yeah, Garoppolo missed a pass, but
Except for
my only point is
we've seen Kyle Shanahan twice
okay,
running an offense. One offense broke every NFL record, and they lost in the Super Bowl. I'll give it.
Yeah.
The other offense just got by. You can't get by in these
would disagree with
situations.
that. They were the number one running team in the league when they
Yeah,
were healthy.
they had
And they didn't win.
And they were
They had a good
unstoppable. And they did. They ran for 3,000 yards that year.
You know who else had a great running game last year? The Titans.
I love the Titans.
The
Derrick
Baltimore
Henry-
Ravens.
Derrick Henry should have been the MVP. I don't know how much I trust the Ravens without Ingram. I know he didn't do much last year. J.K. Dobbins, is he the guy? Is he it?
Yes.
Him and Gus Edwards?
Yes.
Okay.
I think Dobbins
That's
is the
I've never
guy.
seen that been between Edwards and Ingram than Edwards.
The
and
biggest problem
Dobbins.
That's probably
with
true.
the biggest problem with the Baltimore Ravens and helping out Lamar is
no
in
receivers.
those moments you have guys that are good. You have guys that can run around and get the job done. But when you need someone to make a play and help you out, you do not have that guy you can go
There's
to.
a team with no number ones. Not even because the argument too with the Niners offense is that their number one is Kittle.
Yeah.
Correct.
You can have 2 and 3 receiver type guys when you have someone like Kittle. Andrews is a good tight end. He's not George
Not number
Kittle.
one.
He's not George Kittle.
And then you have even worse receivers behind him. You have an aging Des Bryant maybe still on the team. You have Marquise Brown.
Who's the definition of a great slot guy, but he's a number 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're still putting Willie Snead on rosters. I mean, that team needs a receiver probably more than anyone. That's a team that should think about trading up and grab one because this is a very deep receiver class. They're not going to get
Devontae
Devontae
Smith.
Smith.
Because I
They're not gonna
think
get hit,
Lamar, when he has
Jamar
those,
Chase,
he's
maybe.
trying to always throw into the window. He's always trying to make the perfect throw, and I think that's why he struggles. Why he holds onto the ball is because he doesn't see the window. He's not going to make that mistake.
Yeah.
You know, when he has to
I
throw
don't
it
think
to
he
someone
sees
make
the
a
field very
play,
well at all.
they don't have anyone. Unless the speed and the routes allows him to make the throw, right now,
I
in
agree.
his passing,
Yeah.
he does not have the people around him so that he can make that high jump ball back
He
shoulder
doesn't have
fade.
people around him, and he doesn't have the Deshaun Watson skill set to make it look like he does.
Now, what I would say is when you have a good quarterback that can throw, but you don't really have that many number one wide receivers, yes, you have in Green Bay. You have yourself a number one wide receiver in Devontae Adams.
And then he makes
And your
Valdez
number
Scantling and
twos?
Lazard look like Pro Bowlers.
Your number one and your two, number three, they're big bodies.
That's-
They're big people that can make
Which
plays
is my
when they have
favorite
to
type of
match up.
receiver.
Yeah.
Fucking
When you have a
Lazard,
favorable
just some guy
matchup.
running a 4.9 out there, but he can jump
Yeah.
over you. Give it.
You could do the same thing with someone just as fast, like a Marquise Brown. Valdez Scantling
Yeah.
and Brown, probably the same running style receivers. They run about the same quality of routes.
Right.
They have great separation. They have about the same hands. The difference is you're thrown to 6'2"
Versus 5'8".
with a long wingspan where Rodgers can say, hey, you can reach that ball, let me put it there.
That's Lamar.
When you
doesn't
have
that.
Lamar, he
So-
goes, fuck, I got to put it up and around the corner. I can't really do that. That's where the difference is, and that's
So-
why he's going to struggle.
I agree with that. So, if you had to break it down, besides the Bucks, Chiefs, right? Give me 3 teams per conference that you're putting in that conversation. For me, the NFC, I'm going Green Bay. I'm going San Francisco. I want to say New Orleans. I don't see it. I
That's
Well,
actually
let's-
someone I could see moving
Let's do
up.
NFC first. I mean, I can't take Green Bay out of there. If Rodgers stays and plays the way he did this season, they're up there. The Rams to me make a big jump. That defense is top tier.
Spectacular.
Stafford, if he plays like he should,
And they're losing no one.
they're losing no one. And McVay's a great coach. The third one, honestly, it is a question mark. I could see the Vikings with a good run game
Yeah,
and a
give me-
solid defense.
give me Christian McCaffrey back in Carolina.
I don't trust Carolina.
The thing with the NFC
but
South,
there's- but
and the
it's a-
NFC South has always been there, they cannibalize each other.
That's true.
Their biggest fault is that they can beat anyone in their division, and they can lose to anyone in their division at any time. They will always cannibalize. The times that they don't, and they beat everyone else in the division, that's when you have the random NFC South have 3 teams in the
No.
playoffs. 2 teams in the playoffs.
You know who it could be? The Washington football team. That they made good enough jumps this year. They have young enough guys. I believe in Chase Young. They re-signed Taylor Heineke.
I keep seeing this.
I'm not saying they're going to be gangbusters, but Team is moving in the right direction that you want to see. I see them on a similar trajectory as San Francisco was a couple years ago. Hear me out. Your good team get riddled by injury. You end up with the number 2 overall pick. You draft a fucking pass rusher from Ohio State who completely changes the defense. You're a couple pieces away on offense.
You have one big difference. Now, yes, they both start with the NFC, but the following word is the NFC East. And that's,
which I think is the worst division.
It's the biggest crutch. It's the biggest thing. There's something about it, no matter how good the team is. And that's why no one, all the way up to fucking the catch and the fucking Lombardi Trophy was raised by the Philadelphia Eagles. No one will ever believe in them because the NFC East is the NFC East. They will always find a way.
They've been the redheaded stepchild of the NFL last decade, man.
I can't put them in there.
A different team has
if
won
they
a division
surprise me,
every season.
so be it.
That's what I'm saying.
When all said and
That's
the
why
Cowboys make their run, it surprised me.
Every year I have to see Cowboys, the new dark horse. Like Cowboys are the new favorite to win Super Bowl. No, they're not. You know why? Because Jerry Jones owns them, and they're in the NFC East. No team from the NFC East should be favored to win a Super Bowl because that they underperform. They always underperform. They play at the level of their teams.
So who is it then? Who's taking that third spot for you? You said Green Bay. You said the Rams. Vikings. Who's your 3 besides the Bucks?
It's for I don't like the Bucks. I
know.
Them in no, I'm saying I wouldn't put them in the 4.
Fair.
So
who replaces?
Who's your 4?
I would go New Orleans, Green Bay. I kind of like the Bears. Only because I feel like in this offseason they will do something to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I feel that...
No more Nagy, right?
No more Nagy. I feel that Green Bay, there's something happening. Either there will be a move that they hurt themselves, or it's a Aaron Rodgers saying, all right, cool. Maybe he doesn't have the same fire underneath his belly as he did whatever happened this year. Right? Drafted Jordan Love. Now that's already there. He doesn't care about Jordan Love anymore. Now he's back to being Aaron Rodgers.
It's not the same thing. I agree.
You know? So I don't feel 100% safe, and I kind of feel they can move.
On the New Orleans
and I like Seattle, and I like LA.
Fair. I will not give that credit to LA yet until I see Stafford prove it different. What I like on your New Orleans pick is the Drew Brees restructure to take $24 million less dollars to get some pieces around. I think that could be good.
I don't think New Orleans has to be the Drew Brees-led Saints.
I agree. I'm just saying I like that move.
And it's
Jameis Winston.
And it's not Taysom Hill either.
But it could be
Jameis
Taysom
Hill is my most hated player in the NFL. We'll get there another day. But Jameis Winston, I think, could take that team to the playoffs.
So, if those are your NFC picks, who you got in the AFC? Because for me, still, if we're going 4, Chiefs, number 1. I love the Bills. I got to give the Titans. I like Derrick Henry. I like that. And I can see a big jump from either the Chargers or Raiders, or I really fucking like Baker Mayfield. As that, I think they make the jump, and they become a real contender in the AFC.
My problem is you still have Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh. And as much as I believe that they are crumbling, and Mike Tomlin next year will be the next hot offer, because I believe this is his last year. Because I don't believe they'll all of a sudden win a Super Bowl, and I believe they'll still have random, not necessarily morale, not necessarily character issues, but not being able to reel in whatever they got going on there.
I feel that.
Mike Tomlin's had the ability to juggle all these personalities and still get them to win. In the last couple of years, it has not. And Pittsburgh is not very forgiving.
No.
They're
harsh.
And I can't give it to Cleveland because they're still the Baltimore fucking Ravens, who have a solid defense. And the fact is, Lamar Jackson could beat any team, any day, even if you're fucking... Even if you plan for it. There's nothing you can do about it. If he decides he's going off that day, he's going off that day. If you try to contain him, you can't. So that's something I cannot give until I see them sweep the division. Also, the Cleveland Browns will have to deal with Joey fucking Burrow. Because I tell you what, Joey Burrow put up fights in that division.
I don't think they'll have to deal with him until midway through the season.
I think
they're
going to be gentle about his recovery.
Yes, got injured late.
So if I had to put my AFC teams,
yeah, definitely. I believe in Joey Burrow.
Yeah. My AFC teams are going to be the Chiefs at number 1. I have the Buffalo Bills at number 2. Following up, a sleeper, I believe the Miami Dolphins are going to be the sleeper team. They have all the right playmakers and all the right offensive
It doesn't even
line.
have to be Tua performing that well.
No,
True.
if you have
Fitzpatrick.
Tua as a game manager, just being athletic enough to extend plays, very similar to how Kyler Murray was. Now Kyler Murray made a couple big fancy highlight plays with his little feetses, and then he threw it to DeAndre Hopkins where he bailed him out. Right. But besides that, he's a great person to march the ball down the field, hit the throws that you have, and be mobile to escape and extend plays. That's what Tua is. Tua's ceiling, as of next year, I believe, is right where Kyler Murray's is. I think they're very similar styles, very similar talents. That's what you look for. And if I can get that from Tua, and you get a motherfucking person that can run the football, you have the offensive line to protect you.
Gaskin. They need another big, strong guy, but I'm with you.
They thought it was going to be...
Harris.
Yeah.
But depending who they pick, there's got a lot of talent there. You get them a receiver, if all of a sudden they get Tua, Devontae Smith at number 3.
There's been whispers.
So who's your number 4?
It was his wide receiver. It makes sense. Yeah. And then my 4th team is the Indianapolis Colts.
I agree with that.
I think
that
there's no one.
That run game.
I like them better than Tennessee, but the Tennessee has the age-old true. I can hand the ball off to the fucking giant behind me, and he's gonna run through your face, and good luck with it. That's something that you cannot undervalue. The fact that you don't have to worry about what play you're running for the first 2. You can be creative as ever much you want.
Yeah.
As long as you get 6 yards in any of those plays, I can just go.
Played a lot better than I thought he would.
He's played great. Yeah. I like it, but
AJ Brown's nasty.
But I really like Indy. I really think Indy would have won the division if they had real play from Phillip Rivers.
I agree.
I think Jalen, you and I are on pretty much the same page. I think Chiefs are obviously number 1. It's hard to unseat the Bills. I think they probably end up having a good defensive draft. They don't need many more pieces on offense.
Stephon Diggs watching the Chiefs.
That's the team that's going. That's a team that's going to have a very, very. They're going to come back strong,
sure.
And they already had a great season. So those 2 teams, I think, are at the top. The teams chasing them, to me, I really do think the Raiders kind of are putting together a really good roster.
Yeah, I like what Mike Mayock's doing down in the desert.
Mayock needs another good defensive draft. I think they have good offensive pieces. They got the speed guy at Ruggs. Nelson Aguilar has a career revival.
Darren Waller could be one of the top receiver tight ends in football.
Josh Jacobs, great running back. So they have the pieces there on offense for Gruden to play with. I think Derek Carr needs to figure out what he's doing a little bit. I think he was a liability in some games, and he was the reason they won in others.
Talking about wild cards, John Gruden and Mike Mayock could have the balls to go snag Carson Wentz.
That's true.
And then completely say, let's go now.
Yeah, that's a team and a group and a front office that will have no problem making big, slightly dumb moves.
And I think, and don't you think...
Where it's a gamble.
And don't you think being based in Vegas...
Why not?
You're kind of allowed to
roll the dice,
baby.
Exactly. See what you get.
And welcome back to episode 2 of the Step Over Sports Podcast. Brought to you by Kick-Ass Meals, because it's the most American thing I can think of. We are going to be moving over into a little bit of NBA action to finish up the podcast. First thing I want to talk about is, do the Nets suck? Are they that bad? Is it getting James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant? Is it great to watch, but can't win you basketball games?
I think it's the concern that I've had from the jump, which is you have 3 guys that need the ball in their hand, that score in bunches, that are hyper talented on their own. When there's other complementary pieces around them, it's great. And if we were playing games like the All-Star game with no defense, yeah, they probably win. But I just have a hard time believing that this team is going to make a push deep into the postseason, especially when they talk about the game slowing down, defense locks up. And I just don't see that there's enough balls to go around in New Jersey. Or it's not New Jersey, it's fucking Brooklyn.
It's an odd case because, like, on paper, yeah, it's probably the best roster you could put out right now or in the last couple of decades. The difference between them and maybe those 16, 17 Warriors, Steve Kerr was coaching that team. That's a seasoned coach. That's a veteran coach. That's a team that honestly was just more cohesive. Now you have Steve Nash coaching this team, who's never coached before. Great player. We don't know if he's a good coach or not.
And also style of play is different.
Yeah.
You have Klay Thompson, who dropped 60 points and dribbled the ball 11 times.
Right.
We had one possession, Kyrie Irving dribbled the ball 30 times and got 1 point. So I think that sets it up differently. But I think with the Nets, it's not necessarily the team and the roster not matching up. It's just underperforming.
Yeah.
You lose to the
Detroit
Cavaliers,
last night.
Twice.
Cavs twice in back-to-back games through a
Best player on the team is what? Colin Sexton?
who's
Drummond?
I couldn't have told
Colin
you that, yeah.
Sexton,
Drummond.
and he's the bull for Alabama. Side note on Colin Sexton while we're right here. Colin Sexton is a great name. But in college, right before he was drafted, there was a fight, I believe, and a little tuffle. And the bench on his roster, plus the guy who got ejected, stepped off. So in basketball, if you step off the bench onto the floor, you're ejected immediately, like in any other sport or fight. So Colin Sexton, for an entire half, played pretty much
By
1 against
himself.
4.
Yeah, I remember
there was
that.
3 other people there to rebound. Well, the young bull fucking took on 4v5 and almost fucking won that basketball game. Brought them back from almost, I think it was like 15 points down. He brought them back. Baller. But that's not a team that beats the
I think what's
Brooklyn Nets.
been clear is that when we were talking about the Nets as the contender against the Lakers, they're not that. I think that they could be. They have a long way to go and a lot of cohesiveness to
I think
find.
this season, I still put the Sixers, maybe even the Celtics.
Yeah, I would
Sixers are playing really well. Embiid's hard to
Doc
play
Rivers has
against.
got them playing.
And
Doc
Doc-
Rivers
again-
said to Joel Embiid, "Get your big fucking ass
Yeah.
on the block and be a big man."
And I will always say coaching is not as important in basketball as it is in football, but it's still important.
Yeah, it's huge.
And
It's
Doc
way up
Rivers
there.
is a great coach, and that team looks a lot more prepared to play. The Nets are still figuring their shit out. I don't know if it's going to take a whole season. I don't know if it's going to take 2 more months. That team should be the best team in the league, not just the conference. I don't know if they get there by the end of the season. And I don't know if I'm going to say they're a failure or the signings didn't work if this season doesn't.
No, they have
Go
time.
ahead,
They have
should.
time for
The
sure. I
NBA
think.
though is a win now league. So
Yeah.
if you make these moves and you don't win now or the next season, you become the 76ers.
Well, and
where you told me
especially-
to trust the process, and the process hasn't paid out,
And I-
but we're still telling me to trust, and that's a hard
That's why I
thing
was
to
laughing when the Sixers GM was saying that he thinks Embiid should be in a different league above the NBA the way he's so good. I'm like, oh, so have you guys been winning championships the last 5 years? And you want to move up? Like, don't start talking shit like you got the best team in the league when you haven't even made a conference championship yet.
do.
I agree with that. I'd take the Bucks still over the Nets. I think at this point.
Not a lot to talk about them. They still have fucking Giannis and Middleton.
Yeah, I don't. I've always said Giannis is fool's gold. I don't see him as
It's a soft G.
Giannis. Sorry,
Soft G.
I don't see him as somebody that's gonna.
I don't want him to all of a sudden get tweeting us when we blow
true,
up big,
it's
being
true.
these motherfuckers called me Giannis.
I don't see him. I know it's Giannis.
the
I
Italian.
misspoke. I just my point is the Nets didn't convince me when they made the trade. You gave up a lot. It's kind of similar to when they leveraged their future to go get Paul Pierce
But see,
and Kevin Garnett.
they didn't just give up too much because it was such a, I think it was 3-4-way trade.
4, yeah.
That those pieces weren't going like you weren't
Yeah.
trading 1 for 1.
True.
You were going 2 for 1,
weird
2 for
thing
1,
going
1
on.
for 3, 3 for 1.
Losing
So it
Karis LeVert,
bounces
I think
out.
was a mistake. That kid's a really
And
good
I
player.
didn't think getting rid of Jarrett was a good idea. I thought he was their young rim defending defender, and that's
But
what you want. You want that middle.
when you have a
court.
vet like
Look at
DeAndre
DeAndre
Jordan
Jordan.
who can still protect
True,
the rim,
very
yes,
true.
you want the young, but
But they're not winning games right
The
now.
Nets are for win now.
But which
Yes,
they're
we
not
talk
doing.
about it.
Again, all-star game wise, they're still kind of fun to watch. Jordan,
For sure.
It's old Lob City, DeAndre Jordan going up.
For
but
sure.
But
It's
the
not
other
winning
thing
you
you have
games.
to remember is they are in the East, and they do not have to win
Right now, that's-
65 games to make the playoffs.
No.
They don't have to win 30 games to make the playoffs in the East
The,
sometimes.
the Nets made the playoffs last year, and they had a negative record, right?
That's right. They were under 500. And that's the difference when you're trying to win now in the NBA is you just need to make sure you win your matchups.
Yeah.
They built that roster so that they can beat Boston, so that they can
Right.
beat Philadelphia in a 7-game series. They're not trying to win all year round.
But
if you remember, there were teams when the Miami Heat first joined, their very first year, we wrote them off because they were losing to teams. The best team in the league was the Atlanta Hawks, who went undefeated for a whole month. But when it came to the playoffs, and you need your stars to perform, we'll have to wait and see if they perform. They
I
have the
agree
potential.
with that, but the difference I would say is that old Miami Heat team had that playoff build that we talk about of the good defense
Lonzo Mourning
and
holding it down.
and the slow down the game, where I think the Nets were kind of that perfect regular season win team. And if they're not doing it in the regular season, it worries me when we get to the slower ball game, when we get to better defense, when we get to the refs letting them play a little more and not calling fouls as tight. It really worries me down the line that which one of those teams, if we start listing off those teams, the Sixers, the Bucks, the Celtics, which one of those teams do I see the Nets beating in a 7-game series? Not as many as you would have thought. I thought that reunion would be a little better.
I think the problem is mostly Harden.
I've always said that.
Yeah.
It's a certain style, but I will say that he's changed his style of offense. He has been this ball dominant because I understand that he has a level of comfortability that he's never had before. He knows that he doesn't have to dribble the ball. He doesn't have to take every shot. And I think it's going to evolve.
He can be a 2 guard, right? He doesn't have to be the point guard.
I think that evolves him where he has the potential to improve his game in the areas where they weren't. Where now he can focus on defense now because he doesn't have to worry about He doesn't have to worry about as much scoring every single possession.
Yeah,
The idea when he was in Houston, his mindset, whether it was told to him or he decided it, in his brain, he knew that I need to do as much as I can to score every possession, which stopped him from performing on defense.
Right.
But if you push the ball down the floor, kick it out, you have Kevin Durant do his own thing, you get a
Makes
bucket.
more sense now. It didn't gel when it was just him and Westbrook and Paul, and it was just this mess. Like, it was 3 guys trying to play the same position.
But I think Westbrook is the mess, to be honest. And I think we're seeing that in Washington.
I don't want to put that on him, though. I don't want to
but
put that on him
did you see that
because
picture
regardless if Russell Westbrook is there, the Wizards are still bad.
If
If you give him any other player, the Wizards are still bad. Because you have someone that can drop 50 consecutively all the time and play great defense.
Yeah.
He's not a dribbler. He's a shooter. He goes and they still lose. I think that team
You're talking
is
about
just terrible.
Bradley Beal, correct? Yeah, I hate what they're doing with him there. I would love to see him move anywhere else.
He said himself he didn't want to go anywhere.
No.
Yeah, but that's that bullshit loyalty that we see players have to teams that I think... Well, here's my only thing.
Players have
I think
had that recently.
I think
Plenty of
correct
players
with
have gone out
some,
and said
but
they don't want
I
to.
think we see a lot more loyalty of players to teams than teams to players. I think we see teams.
That's true. The whole
I think
it's a business.
look at Washington. Look at John Wall.
But when,
He didn't
when
deserve to
when
be
you
done
think
like
of,
that.
It's not necessarily a super fair comparison because in sports in general, everything we look at, if it is from the organization, their private business, we say, well, it's just a business decision.
Right.
But if it's from an individual, even though for them they are their own business, us as the general public forget that they are that business, and we say it's personal. So regardless of what,
a very hypocritical stance for a long time.
but there's nothing we can do to change it. It is the perspective because we see one individual. The name is Bradley Beal. The other side, it says
The Washington
Wizards.
I would go Damian Lillard and the Portland Trail
Washington
Blazers.
basketball
But
team.
no, that one's not the same. That one's not the same because they've had pieces. They've brought in the right pieces. They're playing in the West. They build. They add those key players.
I like
Yeah,
CJ
CJ
McCollum.
And now they have the Lakers and the Warriors and the Suns now in their division. So like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, that's
And
ridiculous.
if you said that it was the same, the Wizards can't win shit. Dame Lillard gets you to a fucking
well, it's true.
Western Conference final.
That's true.
Yeah.
He gets you to the semifinals. He's that baller that does it. So it's not quite the same because
I'd agree.
the other people around
right.
him,
Yeah, I'm good.
the other people around him in Portland are quality teams. If Portland is in the
Kinda. You got Carmelo playing the best season he has in 7 years for some reason. I'd like to believe
And
that's because
that's
he's playing with
really
Who's the
Damian
white
Lillard.
boy that got hurt? The rookie last year.
The only white boy I can think of is Tyler Hero,
the
and that's
tall,
the
skinny
Miami
one?
Heat.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's playing
what's his name? With the face, the GQ model.
The guy with the face. Corian. Where you at?
Google,
I
tell me the person I'm
do
trying
have to
think
say,
of.
while we're on the topic of basketball, for the first time in a long time, I'm excited to be a fan of the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah.
I think
I've been a closeted Kings fan for a decade.
I've been
some fucking basketball games.
And De'Aaron Fox is playing out of his mind. He was Western Conference Player of the Month in January. I think the IQ and the game and floor awareness we have seen from Tyrese Halliburton has been unreal. I think as of right now, he's the clear Rookie of the Year.
Well, if LaMelo Ball wasn't named LaMelo Ball, then for sure. But as long as Ball plays this whole season, they're just going to fucking hand
I
it.
agree. I think Halliburton's had a better year.
Zach Collins is the name you were looking
That's
for.
the name I'm looking for. Went to like Gonzaga or some shit, right?
No, he was.
He's racist, probably.
Fuck
Gonzaga, by the way. I hate that school. Go Gales.
No, he was Gonzaga. Well
Go
done.
Gales.
Well done.
Basketball.
I went to St. Mary's.
I know.
You know they're
You have
extreme
fond
rivals.
Marys and loyalties to St. Mary's? Get the
No,
fuck out of here.
but
Get the fuck out of here. They also have Harry Giles on that team.
Fuck that.
Rodney Hood,
I can't believe the
Derek Jones, Ennis Cantor, Damian
But that
Lillard,
new kid that's playing
CJ
center for them is
McCollum?
out of his mind.
Penis Cantor.
Ennis Cantor. E-N. But they also have Yusuf Nurkic and fucking Gary Trent Jr. You got ballers out there. You got people. You have a roster. They win basketball games.
I don't think you
In
would
the
call
West.
any of those guys ballers if they were on any other team.
I think if you watch more basketball, you would definitely
That's
have
probably
that opinion.
true. I know Harry Giles
From a
is good,
basketball,
but
from a basketball
all I know is-
side,
You're right.
no,
The Kings
Harry
have been-
Giles is the one that's not good. Because the Kings got rid of him. If the Sacramento Kings ever trade anyone, they get better. Because when you're on the Kings, you have to suck. So the fact that
unless
you
your
have
name is
De'Aaron
De'Aaron
Fox,
Fox or Tyrese Halliburton or Marvin Bagley's playing out of his mind right now.
I would say out of his mind. Marvin Bagley's playing as well as a first-round pick should.
Well, and he was a number 2 overall pick,
no,
and I'll say that
he's not playing as well as a first
Okay.
round.
As well as a Kings first-round pick should.
I guess.
The Kings are 500 for the first time in a long time. They've won a bunch in a row, and they beat a lot of very
Tough
good teams.
Not the Sixers.
But they beat the Clippers. They beat, I think, the Jazz and the
But
Nuggets.
everyone beats the
all
Clippers.
within. I don't think this year.
The Kings have beaten the Nuggets every time.
They've beaten some good teams, and I am excited to see where this team goes. I think we have earned at least a playoff appearance as fans, a 7-game series. That's all I want to
I
see out
will
of that
say
team.
it's the Western Conference, so they're not going to make it still. I'm not going
There's
to
too many
get
good fucking
excited
teams.
because
I don't think there are anymore. Because Houston's out of it.
The Warriors are barely in the top 8. You tell me the
You
Kings
want
are
to know
missing
who the
the
best
Warriors?
team in the league is right now? The Utah fucking Jazz.
That is facts. That is true.
So if you have the
for sure.
Utah Jazz, so you're telling me the Lakers aren't?
No, but
so
there's
that's two. No, the Clippers. Do they make the playoffs?
Yeah. The
Portland,
Mavericks, probably. Maybe.
Denver.
Actually, Mavericks have been playing like shit, actually.
Mavericks have been playing back, but I think they'll sneak in.
Yeah.
That's 6 teams.
The Suns.
The Suns. Oh, that's 7.
Suns
You got
are
one
good.
more. Really try to dig deep.
You tell me the Kings are beating out.
Kings are 10th right now.
Kings are beating out Mavs.
They'd have to.
Warriors.
The Kings are 10th. They would have to surpass the Grizzlies.
The Spurs.
Yeah, I think they could. By the end of the season, I think they could. They'd have to pass the Grizzlies, the Warriors, or the Spurs. I think those are your
and
three
they
teams.
totally
I don't see
But
this.
they're the Kings, and Luke Walton still's their
I
coach.
agree.
He's the
I
whole
Let,
I
other
agree
team.
with that.
let the record show, when he's talking about these teams being, or Sacramento being better, it's literally one game. Houston is 11-13. Sacramento's sitting at 12-12. Now, yes, the West is all competitive. They're right there. But you have New Orleans at 11-13. Houston
Yeah, I'm
11-13.
not penciling
Oklahoma
us in
City
for a walk.
10-13.
I'm not penciling us in.
I just
but I'm
need to
saying
see
for the
more.
first time in a long time.
I'm assuming-
I absolutely need to see more. But I'm saying for the first time in a long time, come
Yeah.
close to the midway point of the
The
season.
opening statement
as a
was
Kings
that they are
fan,
fun to watch.
You're excited
Are
about
they
it.
a good? Are they a good team? A
Yes.
playoff team?
Yes, they're a good team. Are they able to take the jump into?
They might be the 5th
I'm
seed
not
in the
sure they're a
East,
good team.
but they're probably the 11th seed in the West.
I'm not sure they're a good team, but they are playing
De'Aaron
good
Fox is the
basketball.
Western Conference Player
They're
of the Month.
playing great
He's
basketball.
averaging like 30, 10, and 8 over the
playing
last
great.
12 games.
He's playing great, but who's around him? An aging Harrison Barnes?
Bagley, in my opinion, Bagley and Halliburton are the keys. And I can't remember his name. Number 22, Rashard Holmes is playing out of his mind. Rashawn, I'm sorry. Yes, yeah. But I think you're probably right because it's probably the trap that Kings fans fall into the most often, which is we get excited about these guys, but I'm just saying
And then
from
you know what? And then they'll trade Halliburton in 2 years.
that I do believe.
Why would they wait 2 years? They might as well do it
But
before the trade.
but as a Kings fan, I don't think there's been a time where you're this excited about the team in a long time. I think the run they've gone on, the teams they've beat, that
Okay, so I'm looking at... They played last night and they lost to the 76ers, 119-111.
They were in that game, and if you watch that game, if you watch that game, they were in a 3-point game with like.
Here's what I want to pay attention to. When you look at the construction of this team, you have Harrison Barnes playing 37 minutes. De'Aaron Fox playing 39 minutes.
Those are not crazy numbers anymore.
Buddy
you told me those
playing,
are 44.
I haven't hit the fucking drive yet. Right. Fucking wait for it. Buddy Hield playing 38. You have Holmes playing 22. Bagley playing 29. But the fact is, right afterwards, you have Halliburton playing 34 minutes and everyone else is just participating. No more than 17.
Minutes-wise,
literally a 6-man roster.
They're minutes-wise, and they're not even 6 men because their fucking center is only getting 22 minutes a game.
What I would argue is you're saying that that's a detriment to the bench. I think that says a lot about the bench, which is that it's
not good enough to play?
No, that your center's only playing 22 minutes a game tells me that you're bringing in a backup.
They're playing small ball and throwing Halliburton in.
I'm just saying that
Harrison Barnes
played really well.
37 minutes, went 3 for 9.
37 minutes is not a lot of time in an NBA game. A lot of players play 40
plus. He went 3 for 9, scored 8 points. He went 0 for 2, got 7 rebounds, 4 assists.
Yeah, that's what I want. A glue guy.
You have to participate.
That's what I want from Harrison Barnes.
A glue guy? Get the fuck out of here.
He has the second most minutes on the team for a game, and he did nothing with them.
And in terms of points, I'd agree. And they lost the game. It was a down game. They've played really well.
It's hard.
The bench has played well.
It's hard for me to support a team when their second best player is a guy who would be a role player on most other playoff teams.
I don't think Harrison Barnes is the second best player on the team.
I'm not putting Halliburton there yet. He's played 20 games.
Their second best player is
probably
Buddy Hield.
Buddy Hield, yeah.
Again, who didn't start on the Pelicans when they traded him?
Now,
yeah, but that was we're not benchmarking NBA talent by what the Pelicans do.
Here's my biggest problem with Buddy Hield. Yes, he had 38 minutes. He was 7 for 20, which is not necessarily which is not necessarily.
That's just
he does got some chompers. Just specifically the front two. Yeah. Him and Alvin from Alvin the Chipmunks could sing songs about his life. All I want for Christmas in my 2 front teeth is actually the autobiography for Buddy Hield. But the point is I'm bringing. He went 6 for 16. And yes, he made 6 threes for 21 points. But he shot 16.
Yeah, okay, let's get back.
You were a team living...
I want to get back to my initial point, which is not that...
De'Aaron Fox shot 10.
This wasn't supposed to be a roast the Kings session.
Yeah, it's not I don't think the Kings are the best team in the fucking conference.
They just... I have so much passion and frustration for them not performing late in the season.
But they have...
But I can't help it. It just fucking throws
correct,
me
but we're not late in the season yet. And late in the season, let's readdress this. But as of right now, they've won 8 of their last 10, maybe 7. They're on a roll. Yeah. De'Aaron Fox is playing out of his mind. He's scoring and distributing. I'm excited to be a fan of this team, which is not something we've been able to say.
Problem with the Kings, and I don't know if they're ever going to leave this stigma for me or most other Kings fans, but there isn't a time, even the 7 games they won in the last couple weeks, where I didn't think to myself, how are the Kings going to blow this game? Yeah. Because I've watched it for almost like a decade and a half.
Multiple decades, yeah.
And it's just like the team finds ways to lose.
And then they don't even have to look hard because these are the teams they fucking play. The Los Angeles Lakers, the Los Angeles Clippers, the Phoenix Suns, and Golden State. They had to play them 4 times.
That was the biggest thing about
How many times have they played those teams already, though?
I feel like
they've beaten the Nuggets.
Let me check.
Who was another great team. I don't know. I don't want to harp on the Kings too long. I just think if they sneak into the playoffs, they're kind of like that team that in the playoffs I don't think you want to play. I think that you don't want to come to Sacramento. I don't think so.
If I'm the Lakers, fucking give me the Kings on the playoffs.
Let the record show we, as the rest of this trio, do not support Athan Allinger's claims about the Sacramento Kings in the playoffs.
Play the Suns.
Why? Shut the fuck up.
Why?
Devin Booker will drop 70 fucking cum shots onto your face, Athan. He can do it. He doesn't even blink.
Chris Paul can still put up 30 when he wants to.
Chris Paul's not a scorer.
He did the other night.
How dare you put slander on that fucking Hall of Famer?
He's not a scorer. He's not.
He can't.
Okay,
He's
not a
need to
scorer?
be a scorer when he has like 20 assists a game.
Let me okay, now that we're on this.
Now that we're
because you
slandering
fucking got
Chris
me.
Paul.
God no.
I'm not slandering.
You're
Chris
saying
Paul.
he's not a scorer. What do you think he averages?
22.5.
That's generous. That's a scorer in the
that's
NBA. I don't
like Devin
know.
Booker's probably.
Because he's getting close to 40 minutes.
Not lately, but
He
I'm not hating on Chris
he
Paul.
averages
I'm just saying
16 a game. That's
for
a
his
score.
career.
No, just this season.
Okay, yeah.
Just this
That
season.
sounds about right.
And then his last couple games, not only is he fucking a floor general, he's one of those Tom Brady players that makes everyone
I'd
around
agree
him
with
better.
that,
He comes
for
into the fringe
sure.
because you look, he was in Houston.
Houston.
They started,
I still don't
but that's
believe-
because they only listen to James Harden.
Right.
But he fucking gets shafted, gets sent to Oklahoma City with scrubs, no names. He takes them, gets them to a 4-5 seed in the fucking Western Conference.
that team had no business being there.
No business. You have him fucking dropping 15, 20, 34,
I'm just
29.
saying, in a 7-game series,
Give me the Kings because I will take any team over them.
that's my only opinion. I don't believe in the Suns. I don't really believe in the Mavs.
Actually, I think this is
And
the
you're
first
right,
time
maybe
in my
I'm
life I
biased.
do believe in the Suns.
And maybe
I
I'm
100%
biased,
believe in the Suns.
but I like what the Kings have going. I hope they can keep it moving.
Kings have one really good thing. Their social media department is hilarious.
they are fucking on.
They're
If you don't
killing
follow them, their Instagram and
Yeah.
their Twitter are pretty fucking
Yeah,
fire.
they put out good shit.
They are the army of
Here's
the
what I'll
NBA.
say. Here's what I'll say. The Kings are probably a 4 seed in the East.
Not probably. Maybe they slip in the 7 or 8 seed.
Maybe.
The Kings are a playoff Eastern Conference team, which is not saying much because the Nets.
They're
got
the
it.
Orlando Magic.
Yeah.
Oh, I think they're way better than the Magic.
Okay. Name the Magic roster right now.
They still have Aaron Gordon. They have Vucevic.
Yeah.
Do they have Kemba, or is Kemba in?
Kemba's in Boston.
Keep going.
I couldn't tell you the rest.
can do it. Dig deep.
There's a lot of names on that roster that would start
Tito
over
Hercule.
anyone on.
Tito Hercule does not play for
Tito Hercule.
Jesus. That is... I can't believe that fucking...
Hey, Tito Hercule.
Shaquille O'Neal.
Tito Hercule was an Orlando Magic at one point.
First of all, they have one of the best rookies in the league right now, Cole Anthony.
Well, Francis
You got Mo Bamba, Evan Fournier, Markelle Fultz before he hurt himself again.
Yeah.
Which he will continue
He's still a
to
bust.
hurt himself again.
Wasn't
Nikola
wasn't
Vucevic,
Bacon like
Terrence
one of the best
Ross?
defensive players last year?
Dwayne Bacon?
Dwayne Bacon. I said Francis Bacon.
Francis Bacon. This isn't history class.
Well, and we'll see more with the NBA
7 mistakes.
as the season goes on. I do have to say, I'm just excited as a Kings fan moving forward.
I'm willing to watch the Kings.
Yeah, I gotta say,
That's
apart from the rest of the NBA season, next week we got the Great American Race, the Daytona 500. I'm excited for NASCAR back. Be prepared.
Another left turn.
It still takes precision handling.
Hey, the best part is when they don't take a left turn. And they take a right turn. And then you see the shitstorm that happens. You're like, oh, fuck, that was crazy.
To me,
I just wait for them to take a right turn.
I watch NASCAR like I would watch figure skating. I'm hoping for collapse. I'm hoping for failure. I'm hoping to see something fall and blow up.
Breaking news right now. The Boston Red Sox sent Andrew Benintendi. Oh, fuck, that's...
Benintendi.
You can't say his name right, but it's not worth talking about.
Benintendi.
To the Kansas City Royals in a 3... that's the Moscow.
Yeah, we'll talk baseball tomorrow.
The A's trading Chris Davis for Elvis Andrews.
I love Chris Davis. He's played shit the last 2 years.
You're gonna beat Elvis Andrews for him.
Yeah, I think it's not a bad trade.
But yeah,
I think
we'll hit on baseball next week.
next week. We got our we're gonna do some fantasy baseball that we'll keep everybody
That's right,
updated
yeah.
with. So in the next week or two, we'll have rosters that we'll go over with everybody, and that'll be what we can keep going moving forward. It is the dark times right now, in my opinion. That post Super Bowl pitchers and catchers report.
We got some March Madness coming up, dude.
March Madness. But I'm just saying, for me, every year the depression hits after Super Bowl, before pitchers and catchers.
That's just because you need more hugs. That has nothing to do with sports.
Yeah, that's just early onset depression.
But the real thing that you need to be looking forward to is next week we'll be starting the hot seat, where each one of us will have a segment. We'll come on with a fucking hot take.
Yeah, the firing squad.
And you'll get roasted, plain and simple. Yeah. You guys will be able to listen and laugh.
Defend yourself against the other guy. Yeah. I like that. Let's get a little hostile with it. Yeah, I agree with that.
We're gonna get the bows out there.
Good job on episode 2, boys. I think we did good. I'm ready to wrap up. Does anybody have final thoughts? Final thoughts. I'll go to the bar for those.
My drink's empty.
That's true. We do need a refill. Everyone, thank you. Good night.
If you had a good time tonight, listening to us, please go ahead and like and subscribe. And if you would share this with one of your friends, we would greatly appreciate us. Any support allows us to do this more often for you.
Glad you can join us.
Thank you.